Chairman Cook, members of the committee, Dr. J.T. Coopman, Executive Director of the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. I am rising in opposition to this bill, and there's a couple things that I'll lay out, at least in my mind, that are similar in thought to Representative Smith and Representative Delaney in some of their comments. As I see it, we're trying to find additional money to pay teachers, and then we have a bill that is going to further erode dollars that are going to public schools with the encouragement to expand charters in our state with this bill. I've always opposed the notion that school communities that have spent millions of taxpayer dollars on a school building are now required to sell it to a charter school for a dollar, and these are often run by out-of-state for-profit entities. This bill also changes timelines for vacancy and notice from 2 years to 90 days, which is a clear signal to these out-of-state for-profit entities to set up shop in Indiana and further erode the institution of public schools in our state. The requirement for public schools to make purchases is usually on an average of 3 appraisals, yet this bill calls for the sale of public property to charter schools for 50% of market value. That seems contrary to current law and a double standard. It should be the same for all entities, or at very least 100% of fair market value. Allowing charter schools to share in referendum revenue is another notion that has nothing to do with the board that approved it for their public school district and did no work in its passing. As a matter of fact, it could have a negative effect on public schools when you have public school proponents that realize their hard work siphoned dollars away from their public schools.
Thank you, Mr. Coop. Questions? Representative Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Coopman, when you say it siphons money away from public schools, is that an implication that that money belongs to public schools?
Yes.
Okay, is it the role of Indiana to fund public schools or to educate children?
Both.
Okay, are you against parents having a choice in their child's education?
I think,
personally, but your organization.
I believe that the original context of charter schools were to be incubators of innovation, with the idea that a charter school was free from some of the systems that were in place for public schools, and if they could come up with something that could be replicated, that was the idea behind a charter school, was to be incubators of innovation that then could be replicated in the public school. And now that we've expanded way beyond that original notion, I don't believe it's good for the public schools where 96% of our children attend.
Charters only get about, what, 2% of our education dollars?
I have no idea.
I think it's probably less than 2%. So, but you're that concerned over a group of people that are getting 2% when I believe public education's getting 97%?
I'm an absolute proponent for public schools, period.
Over parental choice?
Yes, because they do have a choice, and public schools should be their choice.
Do all public schools offer choice between public schools, or are they locked in to where the parents live?
Well, now that we have open enrollment, that's a game changer as well.
Are you for that?
No.
So you think government should control education and parents should not have a choice in their child's education?
No.
But if you're against open enrollment, that means a student is forced to go to a school within a certain geographical area, and you just stated that you thought that that's the way it should be, and you're against charter schools, which are public schools, and you're against that even though they're getting less than 2% of the budget.
I'm not necessarily against charter schools. What I'm against is the continual expansion of charter schools in the state, which continues to erode funding for traditional public schools.
But there are parents that choose to send their children to these charter schools, and that's what you're against, is parents exercising a choice?
I guess so.
thank you for going on record and saying that.
Further questions for Dr. Coopman? Seeing none, thank you. Mike Brown?